So hello and welcome back to Open Studio. I'm your host, Martina Flor, and I'm thrilled to be kicking off our 8th season of this podcast, season number 8. Can you believe it? And I have to admit that we took a little bit of a break. We took 2 months break of the podcast because I wanted to look back into the 7 seasons that we have hosted so far. And what I did during this time is to look back into the things that are bringing you value, the things that are helping you move forward. What are the bits of content? What are the episodes that really resonate with our listeners, with you? And therefore, I can promise you that season number 8 is going to be supercharged because we are going to put that information that I got from, reviewing all of these past seasons, and we are going to bring that into season number 8. That means that the interviews are coming back with renowned lettering artists and graphic artists and designers, where I'm also going to be hosting solo episodes about making a living with your skills, about building a portfolio, about getting clients and doing client outreach. So get ready because season number 8 is going to be super special. Welcome to Open Studio Podcast, space for lettering artists, illustrators, and creatives who are determined to thrive in their passion. I'm Martina Flor, and I've been through the ups and downs of building a successful creative business. From struggling to make ends meet to achieving my dream of becoming an award-winning lettering designer, I've learned valuable lessons along the way. Now, I'm here to share those lessons, strategies, and tips so that your journey can be smoother. Whether you're looking to turn your passion into a career or want insights to boost your creative business, this podcast is your guide. Join me on the Open Studio Podcast and let's make your creative dreams a reality. Today we are kicking off this new season with something really that is at the start of everybody's journey. Where do I get started? And I wanted to, in the next couple of episodes, I wanted to answer to the most frequently asked questions that I get about lettering, about getting started with lettering, and also about making a living with lettering, charging for your work. So whether you are a complete beginner or someone that has been doing this for a while, this episode and the episodes that are coming next are for you. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to tell you that I prepared something extra. I put together a free guide that is called Lettering Success Secrets. It's packed with valuable tips to help you get started, and it's also answering all of these questions that you may have if you're wondering, how can I make a living with my skills? Is the market oversaturated? How do I get started? What are the tools that I need? So you can go ahead and grab a copy now on martinaflor.com/guide. I'm going to add this to the show notes. But if you cannot wait for the next episodes to come out and you want to have your questions answered right away, you can go ahead now and grab a copy at martinaflor.com/guide. Now, let's dive into today's big question, which is, how do I get started with lettering? How do I get started learning lettering as a complete beginner? And I want to give you tips that you can take away with you. So I know that starting with a new skill like lettering can feel really overwhelming. And I know that especially nowadays, there are so many resources, there's tons of tutorials, YouTube videos. And also when you scroll the internet, when you go on social media, you see so many different styles, so many different ways of doing lettering. And it's very hard to know where to begin. And what I love about lettering is that you already know, and you and everybody already know more about letter forms than you think you do. Lettering is essentially the visual form of language. That means that we deal with language every single day. So every single day, you're surrounded by typography, on street signs, on product packaging, on book covers, on even like the phone. You are sending text by writing with letter forms. This means that if I will ask you to draw a letter N, you will likely be able to do it without hesitation. And that's because without realizing it, you have built a mental library of letter forms over time. You have looked at letter forms for so long that you have in your mind already a basic knowledge about letter forms. And that's great news. It means you already have a strong foundation to begin with. When it comes to learning a new skill, I want to give you 3 essential tips that will get you started and will keep you on track as well. I could be telling you right now, go watch that video, go follow that person on Instagram, go enroll in that course. But I want to give you first timeless strategies that you can use to start making lettering your thing. I think this is an essential step that you need to start taking as you dive into a new skill, which is, making this a focus or your focus. And this is the tip number 1 that I want to give you. Tip number 1 is make lettering and letter forms your focus. So how can you do that? Start looking at letters intentionally. When you're out and about on the streets, instead of scrolling through social media on your phone, look up and notice the signs, notice the logotypes and the typography around you. Pay attention to their shape, their style, and how they look, and start wondering, why did the designer of this sign decided to do it this way and not that way? So that's one thing you can start doing to make lettering your focus. Another thing you can start doing to make lettering your focus is to take photos of lettering that inspires you. And you can store them in a dedicated folder on your phone or your computer. For instance, in my phone, I have a dedicated folder for signs and vernacular signs that I find on the streets. So every time I travel to a new city, I go about on the streets, I walk around and I try to spot different pieces of typography that I find interesting. And I make a photo and I save them all inside my personal library inside my phone. So whenever I'm looking for inspiration for a certain lettering piece, I can go dive into my own library of letter forms. And over time, you will see that you will build a personal reference library of different styles that also will help you develop your own artistic voice, because those were pictures that you chose yourself. Those were pictures that you found, or those were pieces of typography that you found interesting at that time. And this is why this is going to help you then later on. This library that you have created for yourself is going to help you over time to develop your own style. The tip number 2 that I can give you as someone who is beginning into a new industry, into learning a new skill, is that you surround yourself with the right people. I want you to remember this. Context dictates performance. That means that if you immerse yourself in a community of people who are on the same journey as you are, you will move much faster. So this brings me back to my own story. When I first moved to Germany, as you know, I live in Berlin. I'm originally from South America. I was born in Argentina, and I moved to Germany to kickstart my career as a lettering artist. When I moved to Germany, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a network. So I had no connections in the typographic world, and I was really starting from scratch. So I could have just stayed in my bubble, which was great. I was, creating a lot of lettering every day. I was working in my computer and just practicing on my own. But instead, what I did, which I think had a big impact in my performance and also in kicking off my career as a lettering artist, is that I joined a community. I started attending monthly typography meetups that were called Typostammtisch in Berlin. I know it's a very German name. It's a German name. It's called Typostammtisch, actually, in German. And these were meetings of typographic aficionados and people who were working in type design, lettering artists, calligraphers, and being surrounded by other typography and lettering enthusiasts really made a huge difference in my performance, because I saw other people doing exactly what I wanted to do. And it made me realize, hey, if they can do it, I can do it too. It just showed me the possibilities that were out there. And I started believing that I could do what I wanted to do, which was, making lettering for a living. So not only did it inspire me, but also it kept me accountable, because they were doing amazing work. These people they were professionals already, many of them. And they were doing amazing work. They were getting published on magazines. They were, on social media. They were showcasing their work. They were invited to speak at conferences, and I wanted to perform at their level. So I pushed myself to improve. And being part of a community is one of the fastest ways to grow as a lettering artist. I see this every day inside my community of lettering artists. We have a membership for lettering artists inside my academy, and I've seen students come in a year ago, and right now they are doing amazing work. They're going for it. They're starting their businesses. They're getting their first clients. And this is, I think, because they are surrounded by people who are on the same journey, people who are driven. So remember this, context dictates performance. The people you surround yourself with definitely dictates how your outcome is going to be. And the more you surround yourself with the right people, the more impact that it's going to have on your own journey. Find a community, whether it's online or in person. There's tons of communities online that you can join. What is important is that it's people that aligns with your goals. It's people that are driven, people that are, they want to accomplish things, the same things that you want to accomplish. And it could be anything. It could be a local lettering meetup. You can start your own local lettering meetup. It could be an online forum. It could be also even a group of creative friends who support each other. Friends that are in your circle that are willing to meet up regularly and want to support each other. You can create this community for yourself, but you can also go out there and look for a community that you can join. And the tip number 3 that I'm gonna give you is start drawing and do it every day, as often as you can. The best way to learn lettering is to start doing. And it's interesting, the other day I taught an introduction to lettering workshop, and one of the students was asking me, Martina, I know that you are using certain tools to create your digital lettering. You're using vector tools. For me, this feels very overwhelming. I have an iPad. For me, this is easier. Is it okay if I use an iPad to create my lettering instead of using a vector technique, which is the one you're using and stuff? And I said, hey, you know what? The best tool you can use is the tool that you have closer to you. The tool that creates the less resistance between you starting to do the work. So start with what you have. You don't need fancy tools. You just need to have a pencil, and that's great about lettering, that you just need to grab a pencil and paper and start sketching. Of course, there's techniques that are a little bit more efficient. You can dive into digital lettering and stuff, but the first thing you need to do is to get started. So here's how you can get started. I encourage you, and this is something I encourage anybody who is starting with lettering, I encourage you to start drawing words instead of single letters. Lettering is about creating words or illustrating words or phrases. So I want you to start drawing one word. And you can propose yourself, or you can set yourself to draw one word a day or one word a week. The thing that you can commit to, that's up to you. If you can commit to one word a week, that's fine. If it's going to be one word a month, that's fine too, but should be something that you can consistently commit to. So I would recommend you to start with one word, and then you can move on to adding complexity to your composition. So adding more words, adding more styles. So instead of using just one style, you will combine 2 styles. And I think what is important about the experience of drawing is that it presents you with questions. And once you're presented with those questions, you can start posing those questions and you can start finding answers to those questions. But until you are not faced and confronted with those questions, you don't get to have the answers. So the first step for you is to take action and start drawing. And I want to recommend you to do it as often as you can and commit to it. Now, I have worked with hundreds of designers and artists, and I know that one of the main roadblocks that they face to start working or to start drawing is that they sit down to work and they don't know what to draw. So I want to recommend you a tool that I created myself, which is called Lettering Maker. It's a website, it's a free tool that you can use. You just go to letteringmaker.com, and this website is essentially a prompt generator, and you will see that the website has different levels of complexity. So you can go start with the beginner, you can go on to the more advanced, and you can also turn the expert mode on. And what the website essentially does, it gives you a few parameters to draw letter forms. So it tells you your letter form should be bold, or your letter form should be serif, or your letter form should look light. And it also provides you with a text. So you don't have to even spend any time thinking about, okay, what is it that I'm going to draw? You just go to the website Remember, letteringmaker.com. You generate that prompt for yourself and you already know what to draw. It doesn't matter exactly what you draw, but that you draw, that you actually do it. So that was an extra tip for you, this tool that you can use to start creating or generating prompts for your own daily practice. So there you have it. If you're starting your lettering journey and you are a beginner who is starting anew, tip number 1, make lettering your focus. Observe letters everywhere and build your inspiration library by taking pictures, by collecting images that you find interesting. Number 2, surround yourself with the right people. Remember, context dictates performance. So join a creative community to stay motivated and inspired and to keep you accountable. And if you don't find any community to join, create it yourself. Invite people. And tip number 3, start drawing. Practice regularly, draw regularly, and if you like, use the tool that I recommended, letteringmaker.com, to generate prompts that you can use to draw your lettering pieces without spending any time into thinking, what do I draw? So we're going to continue diving into this topic and more in relation to creating a career in lettering design and learning as a beginner and making income with your skills. But if you cannot wait for the next episodes where I will be touching on this topic, I put together a free guide that is called Lettering Success Secrets, where I go deeper into all of these topics, and you can download it now. So if you cannot wait, just go ahead to martinaflor.com/guide and download it. It's for free and you're going to receive it in your email as a PDF. So thank you so much for tuning in to Open Studio. And if this episode helped you, share it with a friend who might need it to have that extra nudge to start their lettering journey. Also subscribe to the podcast so that you are notified when a new episode is coming up. See you in the next episode. Bye bye. So this is it. I hope you loved this episode. You can find me, the host of the show, on social networks at Martina Flor on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you have a question or comments, go to martinaflor.com/podcast, where you can see previous episodes, find show notes, and send voice memos with your comments and questions. You can also watch these episodes on YouTube. Just go to martinaflor.com/YouTube to find them. You can, of course, listen to all our episodes on your favorite podcast platform. If you loved this episode, subscribe to this podcast. And if you leave us a review, it will help others find us. Thank you all for listening and see you in the next episode of Martina Flor's Open Studio. Bye-bye.